And joining me for a perspective on a very special day for the Indian Navy, but also to face the reality of some of these situations that the Navy faces with depleting force levels, is Vice Admiral Anup Singh. He is an Indian Navy veteran, one of India's best-known commentators. He also is a former Flag Officer Commander-in-Chief of the Eastern Naval Command. So he's been deeply involved in planning and strategizing, among many other things, the force levels of the Indian Navy. Admiral Singh, good to see you. Thank you very much for your time here on India Today. My first question to you, Admiral Singh, is INS Vagir, the 5th Scorpion-class submarine, enters service with the Indian Navy today. Your opening comments on a day like this today, sir. Whenever a new asset joins the service, it's always a day of, a day of thanks, a day of anticipation, and a day of ceremony.
Absolutely, Shiv. There is no doubt that it gladdens our heart, it gladdens the heart of the nation. That a project which was so critical to restoring the number of submarines that we had, conventional submarines, which are so important for peninsular India and for the kind of adversaries we face on both flanks.
Yes.
And particularly for the sake of ensuring that sea denial is available as part of sea control for India. And therefore, like they say in Hindi, Der aaye durust aaye. This project was supposed to have got over sometime in 2012-13.
Yes.
It started off late and has therefore the time has got extended far too much. But doesn't matter. Now the speed is picked up and there's only one to go after this, which should happen in the next few months, maybe early next year.
Admiral Singh, for all of our viewers watching, it's always very valuable to hear from someone like you who's been literally there, in the trenches, proverbially speaking, of this kind of thing. Tell us, sir, after a submarine is inducted, it's now part of the Indian Navy. What happens next, in terms of the steps taken before it goes out to sea on actual operations? What happens?
Some of the important trials that are supposed to be conducted before a submarine is handed over to the Navy, they have already got over. But some operational tasking trials, which includes combat firings, etc., of torpedoes, missiles, or whatever the submarine carries, they still need to be carried out. And then she will get integrated fully operationally into her squadron based at Mumbai.
And how long will that take, sir, before the submarine is like fully operational for any requirement from the Indian Navy?
It's a matter of a few months, not too long, because we have really matured in this process of integration, apart from interfacing, within the fleet, and in the case of submarines within the squadrons, because submarines don't form part of the eastern or the western fleet. They are directly under the Cs in Sea. The two C in Cs, east and west, are operational control authorities for the sake of submarines, because submarine tasking is supposed to be underwater. They are not supposed to be taken charge of by the fleet commanders for very good reasons, because their tasking is supposed to be all in stealth. However, the fleets are fully aware where the submarines are operating.
Admiral Singh, you used a phrase which, which one hears very often in the Indian military, unfortunately, Der aaye durust aaye. It is the Der aaye which I'd like to, discuss for a moment, sir, because as you rightly said, the Scorpion submarine project, Project 75, for the 6 submarines to be built at the Mazagon docks in Mumbai, there were many delays in the actual deal, then there were many delays in the actual manufacture. Many of these things are part and parcel of an ambitious shipbuilding project, as it were. But the fact remains, sir, that the Indian Navy currently has far fewer submarines than it should have had by this time, and certainly far fewer submarines than it requires to execute its many tasks in its area of responsibility in the Indian Ocean. Isn't that true, sir?
Absolutely. You know, Shiv, I must say, despite all the negatives that we have seen in defense procurement, acquisition processes and plans for all three services, primarily because of budgetary constraints, which one can understand in our democracy, where resources are supposed to be diverted first for development as well as for poverty alleviation and then for defense. But apart from that, our processes have been far too slow for ensuring that sufficiency in force levels for any contingency, whether on the western front or on the southern front or the eastern front, are met in time. Now, you are absolutely right that, you see, we bought the first submarine, which was the Kalvari, in 1967. And that was a Foxtrot class submarines. We got a total of 8 submarines from the Soviet Union, and they came in quick time because the Soviets were very good at supplying and very good at production. Now, they served us well over a period of, you will be surprised, 37 years. That's the present submarines. The namesake of today's submarine did about 37 years and got decommissioned in 2010, I think. But that was, you know, the real good quality of Indians were, as we say in Hindi, jugaad, but jugaad is too ad hoc a term. Actually, we did a lot of in-house development and development of vendors as well, in order to keep them going. And they finally served us very good as training platforms. But that was not meant for, towards the later years, they were not good for combat. They were not really up to the mark insofar as reliability in combat is concerned. So we got the 4 Shishumar class of the HDW from the Germans, starting in 1986. And in the same year, 1986, we got a total of 10 kilo class submarines from the Soviet Union. The last one, which was Sindhu Shastra, came in I think 98 or 99, and that was the first one which carried the Klub missiles from the Soviet Union itself. But all those submarines, imagine the first one which was commissioned in 1986, Sindhu Ghosh. Today it's 36 years since she was acquired. Some of them have been decommissioned. We've got a total of 7 now. And we've got 4 of the HDW which are also finishing their time very fast. So these Scorpion class submarines, as the contract was signed in the first decade of the current millennium, were supposed to have come through within a period of 5 to 7 years. But things kept getting delayed, A, because of renegotiation of prices, etc., the Indian content of spare parts, and various other things.
And not even to speak of the fact that,
I must say,
Admiral,
despite all this.
Yes, complete your point, sir.
No, go ahead, Shiv.
No, I'm out of time, Admiral. I apologize for interrupting you. But I was just trying to say that, you know, when you said the word
But I was saying, despite all this...
Yes, sir.
Yes. But I must say that despite all the negatives in our procurement procedures and the problems of budgetary constraints, I mean, imagine the percentage of GDP that we are offloading towards defense procurements these days, insofar as capital expenditure for the 3 services is concerned. Despite knowing fully well that we've got problems on 2 flanks, not just one. Yet, one of the best planned papers that was approved in quick time by the government was the 30-year submarine plan, which was approved in the year 1999.
And
in a period of
and that is the reason, Admiral, that I wanted to call you here today to discuss this with you, because, you know, der aaye, durust aaye is one thing. You know, jugaad is a very admirable thing in the Indian military, but we need to move to a regime and a system where jugaad is not necessary. The Indian Navy deserves to have the best equipment available always.
That's right.
It shouldn't have to be pushed into a situation where it needs to improvise or resort to jugaad or any ad hoc measures in order to keep its force levels up. This is too serious a business for jugaad, is what I always say. Admiral Singh, always a pleasure to have you. I apologize for cutting you short there, so we're out of time on this segment, but we will have you back here to discuss more defense issues for which we give a great deal of primacy here on India Today. Thank you very much for that.